Good morning, folks. Today I want to talk about something while I show you pictures of our gardens past. We've been gardening here for a very, very long time, and we've tried a lot of different things. Some worked, some didn't work as well. Some were too labor intensive. As things got on further with my husband's disabilities, things became harder and harder. We started this "Let's Work Smarter, Not Harder" campaign on a lot of fronts. But I want to talk today about, while I show you pictures of these gardens, and I'm up here in this little corner because I'm not the star of this day, gardens are. But we're going to talk today about those who scoff and criticize and sneer and roll their eyes and even become hostile to your efforts to prepare your family for future hard times. You know, the naysayers. We're gonna talk about those people, and they could be family, they could be friends, they could be co-workers, even strangers if they become aware of what you're doing, especially on the internet. But you know, maybe you mention your garden or your plans for your chickens in the future, or that you're learning to can to a co-worker or someone, and you know, their derision can even get translated into just their eyes glazing over. They have no interest and they don't understand why you do. But you know, any of those things, if it's a visitor, say, that sees your small garden, maybe it's your first garden you've ever tried, and they snark and say, "Ah, that ain't gonna feed you, you're delusional," you know, all those things, all those negative, all that negative input. I can just about guarantee you one thing about those people: those are the ones who've done nothing to help themselves. Nothing. Anybody who's ever done this, who's ever tried to be self-sufficient and knows the struggle every single year to do more, to do better, to change up what doesn't work for what works better, those people don't tend to scoff and sneer at you. The people who've never done anything, those are the ones that you're going to have to bat away, so to speak. You know, what is it though? You know, there's an old saying that familiarity breeds contempt. Well, let me tell you, there's a couple other things that breed contempt too. Jealousy breeds contempt. Also, guilt. People can come down on you because they feel guilty seeing what you're doing. They know they should be doing something, but they haven't. Maybe they're lazy. Maybe they just have no interest. And so they poo-poo what you're doing to take care of yourself. Maybe your garden's not as lush as the ones you see all over YouTube. The big channels and the big, you know, rows and rows and all the lush greenery, and they're going amongst the garden. It's all decorated and it's manicured. And maybe your garden isn't like that. Maybe pests and weather and other environmental factors have thwarted some of your efforts. And they will. But I guarantee you that if you have never failed, you've never tried. Oh, you may have beginner's luck on your first garden. That may be the last good one you have for years, because there's so many factors that we can't control. You know, there's always, on every subject, there are always backseat drivers and Monday morning quarterbacks. But they're par for the course. I'm just talking about the ones who really become hostile to what you're doing, who criticize, and some will. For example, let's just take this year's garden here right now as it's going at the current moment. This year's garden is still in the early stages because we're at 2,000 feet elevation. We're not in Florida. We're not in South Georgia. We're not in Mississippi. We're not anywhere where it stays warm and you can start gardening in March. Our last frost date is generally the third week of April, and this year it was a week later than that. So this year's garden, because of various factors, is not as extensive as you saw in pictures, is not as extensive as they have been in the past. When we were more able to do things, when we were growing more of a variety, So it's not as extensive, there's not as much variety. It may not look as lush and thriving as it has in the past. Will this current garden, the several gardens, I have more than one garden. You saw I have the pea patch, which I call, where all the peas are trellised. There's probably 70 pea plants out there, because I planted only like 25 or 30, and volunteers came up everywhere from last year. But will these gardens feed this family of 2 exclusively using what I'm growing this year until next year's garden? Well, of course not, and no one ever expected it to. But 2 factors: we eat 95% of our diet is carnivore. We eat meat, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Basically, I eat more percentage than my husband does. I'm basically 95%. He might be, I'm probably like 98%. He's probably 93, 4, 5%. He eats a few more things than I do that are not carnivore. But if you really think about it, 60, 70 pea plants will produce a lot of vegetable protein. And add that to the ones from the previous year's bumper crops. And I've probably got peas going all the way back to 2020 canned. Add that to those on the shelves already that still need to be consumed first. Because that was the whole point that's the point of your garden every year, to add to what you had from last year if you still have any left. Will there be enough tomatoes for slicing to put on our burger patties? Yep. Appears there will be. They might have been slow to start, but they're going now. There enough paste tomatoes to make stewed tomatoes or sauce to add to what is still on the shelves from last year and the year before? Yes. There will be. Blueberries are more abundant this year than we've seen in about 5 years. And blackberries are doing pretty well too. I just have to go down and get all wet and go down through the woods and go pick them. But your family may have specific needs that mine doesn't. We're just a two-person household here. I don't have 5 kids to feed, and I don't have 5 kids for child labor either, to go say, hey kid, go weed this garden, or go get me this, or go take care of that. I don't have that kind of help here. We just deal with the limitations of our life at the current moment, limitations of a disabled veteran in the household, and that's just the reality of it. That's just life deals you a hand of cards, and you just play what you're dealt. You don't whine about it, you just do it. You just deal with it. Okay, well, you may need more garden space and more produce than this family does. Depends how many people you intend to feed. Well, let me tell you something. Whatever you're doing, I applaud your efforts. Even one raised bed in a suburban garden, or healthy herbs, medicinal herbs even, on a windowsill in an apartment. Good for you. Good for you. I'm not going to denigrate what you're doing. No, you're doing something. That's wonderful. You do what you can where you can, with whatever limitations you have. So, when an insufferable person who's done literally nothing to help himself laughs at what you're doing, sneers and rolls their eyes and laughs and makes fun of what you're doing, or just acts very disapproving and starts giving you helpful suggestions, maybe even telling you should grow more and you should grow this and you should do different things than you're doing. Before you stab him with a pitchfork that's sitting right beside of you, before you stab with a pitchfork, simply give one of those little smirks like Biden does and my father did that says, you're a fool. Give one of those little smirks and say something like, I'll take that under advisement. Then give a big old eye roll and turn away. Because maybe the person who's giving you all these helpful suggestions coming from someone who knows nothing about it because they haven't done it. That happens all the time. People who haven't done what you're doing always want to criticize and give you helpful suggestions. Happens in the chicken world all the time. Maybe, just maybe, this person is intending for your garden to benefit him or her. Maybe they think you owe them. Maybe it's family and they think, well, you know, they're making a garden, why should I? They'll have enough food to feed us all. Especially if they take my suggestion and add a few more rows of this and that, and yeah. So, you know, maybe they're doing that because they intend it to benefit them. So, you know, always remember that the nasty folks who want to criticize and sneer and make these derogatory comments about what you're doing and how you're coming along and your efforts in self-sufficiency, the nasty folks are the ones who will try to will take advantage of your efforts when it all falls apart. When the grid goes down and their food runs out, they're going to be knocking at your door. Or busting it down, one or the other, depends on how self-entitled they are. You know, you can rest in the knowledge that what you're doing, what you should do, providing for your family, as God intended you to do, and consider the source of their derision, whether it be jealousy, guilt, laziness, or just mere willing ignorance. You know, when it all falls apart, and it will, the things are going to fall apart. The grid is going to, at some point, go down for a long time, if not forever. When it does happen, they're going to starve, and you won't. You know, conversations with people like that are really a waste of your time. Now, as an old plant nursery commercial used to say at the end of their commercials, now go play in the dirt. Thanks for watching. Bye.